Welcome to Retail's Most Wanted, the podcast that examines the latest issues related to organized retail crime and how retailers and policymakers are fighting back against today's organized crime syndicates. I'm your host, Marty Carpenter, and coming up on today's show, we'll be joined by Matt Holland. He's the Director of Enterprise at Axon, where he leads business development, inside sales, and engineering teams to drive innovation and connected solutions in the fight against retail crime. We're going to get to that next, but first, a word from our sponsor. Retail's Most Wanted is brought to you in partnership with LVT, securing physical environments through intelligent automation. Learn more at lvt.com. That's lvt.com. Matt Holland from Axon. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Welcome out to Salt Lake City for this this event. We're grateful to have you here. Welcome you into town. Tell me a little bit first for our audience who may not be familiar. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to Axon and what your role is there. But then tell us about Axon just to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, for sure. No, well, thank you for having me. And everybody, my name's Matt Holland. I lead our real-time operations. So I'm the Director of Enterprise Real-Time Operations for Axon. Now, I'm part of the enterprise organization, so I focus on our markets beyond public safety. I got to Axon. I was actually part of Fusus. So Fusus is our real-time operations application. We built a product for real-time situational awareness, leading with law enforcement, and then other sectors really started to come on board. And so I was part of that acquisition and then folded into the Axon enterprise team, which has been great. And so I lead that whole team. I lead the what we refer to as the Axon Physical Operating System, which is the heartbeat, and the core of it is Fusus.
So tell us a little bit more about that. Like when you say it's just give us a little more detail on that. Flesh that out for us.
For sure. So, kind of like perfect segue into Axon, right? So Axon have been around for about 30 years, headquartered out of Scottsdale, Arizona, and we were the founder and manufacturer of the Taser weapon. And so we got started in the electronic, I would say, firearm business, the electric firearm business, and then that snowballed into body cameras and drones and really all of this other technology. Became the leader in public safety technology. We had a software application called evidence.com, which really enabled evidence sharing, case management, and when kind of Fusus came along and longtime partners of Axon. How do you bridge all of these disparate, sensors together, so to speak? And, there's really not at the time this heartbeat to make all sense of everything that, is advancing and getting created, from the Axon team and developers, which they've got great technology. And Fusus was kind of that sticking point, is this glue, this kind of the brain of all of these added sensors, that we're doing, here at Axon and then even beyond. As well as just other sensors that are out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, I love that idea of taking a bunch of different parts and helping them work better together. And we hear that so much from people who are, guests on this show that talk about how do we get a bunch of moving parts. In your case, it's a bunch of different products and technologies to work together. But then how do you get those to work together to help retailers and help law enforcement work more effectively to combat organized retail crime?
100%. And we've been hearing that for years, frankly. There was. And it really has been a trend, I would say, from the public safety space to adopt, this concept of real-time situational awareness. There really was starting to build out, these called physical environments, what they refer to as these real-time crime centers or real-time operation centers. And really the, kind of the goal of that was to really bridge all of these assets that an agency, really oversees, right? So you've got video surveillance tools, you've got, LPR tools, different AI sensors, dispatch software. So all of this sits siloed in an environment, and really having the opportunity to bridge all of those together, common operating picture, leading to operational efficiency was key. But not stopping there, right? How can an agency expand their visibility, expand their reach? And Fusus really enabled agencies to do that. So they'd be able to go in to, really any private sector business, talk to them about, what's your video surveillance that you have here, regardless of system, allowed for those feeds, what we refer to as conditional sharing, to be sent back to law enforcement. And so you think about a quick example, 911 call at a private business, that will automatically pop up live video, share it back to law enforcement, and law enforcement now has referred to this concept as precision policing, right? Video verification. It's critical.
Yeah. Just taking a lot of the hurdles out of the process then, right? Like you've got stores that may have had just sort of their own closed caption systems that are recording, and they have to get a copy of it, give it to the police in order to go ahead and move things forward in prosecuting a case. Sounds like you guys are the ones who make that a lot more seamless for them.
Very seamless. And so, and it's, then you kind of take it to the next step of, here we've got this core operating system, right? Fusus, real-time operations, and that's really real time, real time, but all of this then becomes after the fact, right? So post-event, you've got all of this data. How can we get this data, this information, put it into in the hands of those that need to be, dealing with it, right? And so then that becomes, kind of the back end to our ecosystem, which is evidence.com. And that's actually was really where we got started with being the back end of our body cameras, and that's case digital evidence management. Used by over 90% of law enforcement today.
Was that in response, this effort, was it in response to retailers saying this is our challenge in going from, hey, we've collected some type of evidence that we need to get it to the law enforcement officials? Is it in response to law enforcement officials saying, man, we're having a hard time getting this in a timely way? Is it prosecution? Or was it all of that?
All of it. Yeah, and there's just been, being able to collaborate, communicate, effectively. I think that's just, it's definitely a theme everywhere, right? But it was definitely a double-edged sword in that facet. You've got law enforcement, certainly I would say they were the leader in that charge of, hey, how can we get information quicker, more effective, more efficient. Maybe it was the, older way of evidence on a USB drive, and, that's time, that's cost, that's, question marks around, if video is tampered with and so on and so forth. So that's really probably where it got started. And then secondly, then we came from the retail side of, we've got problems, and we have a very large ecosystem. We have a lot of stores. We really need a very easy and effective way to send this to different jurisdictions. And, that accelerated the use of that technology pretty rapidly.
I was thinking about body cameras and how this is something that we've seen police have for a long time, but the technology keeps getting better and better. And so now, I think there are you're seeing it more and more in retail settings to help deal with retail loss prevention. Could you just maybe tell our audience a little bit about what you guys do with body cams and how that's evolved?
Yeah, for sure. And so, being a leader in body cameras and, really, developing this for law enforcement, it really enabled our teams to, start to hear from, the non-law enforcement businesses, right, the private sector. This is really actually how our enterprise team got started. Was, our door kept getting knocked on from these organizations saying, hey, we need to expand our kind of reach from a, video surveillance perspective. What about body cameras for the front line? And that's when we, started. That's when we got started. We came out and we developed the Axon body workforce, which is in production today. And that was made specifically for the front line. So specifically for private businesses, healthcare, and retail. It's used today. We have customers using that, call it worldwide even. And, it comes in a different form factor. We can match colors to call it uniforms.
Yeah, what does it look like? How does it, just describe the look of this?
Yeah, it's I would, if you kind of know and think of like a, standard body camera, it's a, little sleeker, kind of a little smaller than you would say the typical, law enforcement one. And then it has a faceplate on it. And so the faceplate can be colored, it can be blue, it can be yellow, red. It really can match anything from, the uniform of whichever business it may have. Can you put stickers on there, voice, audio, and so you can really customize it, I would say, to be part of a uniform.
And did you say healthcare workers? Was that one on your list? So is that like, I'm picturing a nurse or
That's exactly right.
A physician's assistant,
That
someone
is
wearing
exactly
that?
Right.
So in that, you want to make it look so it's not, obtrusive. Like you don't want to make a patient feel like they're being recorded. 100%. You don't want to make it stand out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, how can we continue to adopt this, again, to make it part of the uniform? And then, look, there's different mounting options. So you can do, some form of magnet mount. You can put it around a lanyard. Obviously, leaning into the security around a lanyard as well. If someone's, maybe under duress and, hey, we pull on your lanyard, making sure that there's breakaways. Also enabling, this camera to just be removed maybe from a magnet, and then you put it on a door frame. as someone's maybe entering into that that patient room,
Yeah.
let's say, for example. So.
I can imagine you probably have several, but I'm wondering if you could share one of your favorite success stories where you say, man, what we do at Axon, this really helped in this way. Here's a success story about how it helped us deal with some type of organized retail crime case, or really anything you want. But I'm just wondering if you got like, hey, this is my favorite story of how we've helped out.
Most of these obviously are confidential, right? But I've got a couple. Certainly on the body camera side, there's customers that have implemented this technology and have reported, north of 40% in de-escalations, which is amazing. So very quick turnaround from a data perspective of what they're seeing on the outcome side. We've received, feedback and just some examples of, there was, an instance of, maybe someone starting to, articulate some form of aggressive behavior in whether it's a healthcare or specifically retail setting, and then, with the presence of a body camera, they are then trained through the process of, look, you are now being recorded, and it has impacted that de-escalation factor pretty rapidly, which is amazing. And then, kind of on the Fusus side, right, of taking a body camera, tying it into other assets, and really just other sensors. One that really comes to mind is, we heard this from law enforcement, but quick example of real-time video sharing. It was a retail location, specifically a gas station, and the call that came in was there was 2 individuals with firearms. Well, live video started to send back to the law enforcement agency, and actually was 3 individuals with firearms. And so that factor of, I would say the response element, law enforcement responded to that a lot differently.
Yeah, just because they could see what was happening.
And because it wasn't 2, it was 3.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe that required then another car, another unit. So it was pretty impactful.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
A huge evolution in the technology and how it impacts not only a case like that, but across the board, especially when dealing with organized retail crime. I wonder if you want to put your crystal ball in front of you and say, hey, this is what I'm looking forward to. Maybe in 5 years it'll be able to do this, or this is some of the cool stuff that I think we're going to see. What are your predictions for whether it's Axon or just technology in general, will be able to bring to this fight in the future?
For sure. I mean, with the adoption of AI and the presence of, how can technology, really lean into, taking a lead from a proactive standpoint, that's really what I'm excited about. And, that comes with a couple things. First, the addition of more sensors. So, bridging the partnerships between organizations with Axon and LVT and Aura, it's impactful, right? And, you've got 3 incredible organizations that are doing, incredible things in kind of their own disciplines, and they're innovating and continuing to develop very, very strong technologies. And so, as these organizations evolve, as we, kind of create these tighter partnerships and tighter integrations, you're going to see more of that proactive presence. Really being able to, have the tech, take the lead on, hey, there's, this stolen plate, and tying that to some form of link analysis from Aura, and then plotting that on a map in Fusus, and then the adoption of body cameras, that coupled with AI, it just can go on and on and on. And I get pretty excited about it. Yeah. It's incredible. It's incredible to see where this is going, and there's such a need out there right now, and it's amazing. It's amazing that we're able to provide these customers and these organizations with with technology that could really make a difference.
All right, that's it for this episode of Retail's Most Wanted. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, LVT. Don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button so you can catch each new episode. We drop one every 2 weeks. We're also on X, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Links for all of that are in the show notes below. Thanks for being with us, everyone, and keep up the good fight.